the news is that the DApp team is, going and is losing steam without RJ and with funding uncertainty. So they're not even sure that they will exist post January as an official team, but they will. But until January, for sure, they're going strong. And who knows, if RSK decides to pick them up, then they will continue to go strong. But the main point here is that we made an agreement to fund them for 600 DAI a week for maintenance and solving bugs, right? Not from creating new features, but just for solving bugs in the DApp that we want solved. And also that can be feature requests basically for about 10 hours a week is the estimate. And while we're doing that, hopefully Michael can and I will find other devs and other people to maintain the DApp and add features to it. And then also we have one major, this is kind of an update stuff, but one major feature request that is pretty much done that we just want to pay for basically, which is adding functions like actions into the milestones themselves. So we're going to pay for that, which is 4,000 DAI. And Wojtek's going to get the milestones for that. But so the real proposal here, though, is for how to handle the $600 a week and which issues to prioritize. So I created a Lumio thread that everyone and put a bunch of issues up so that everyone could vote on the issues that will be prioritized. So definitely go check that Lumio thread and vote on what you want. And everyone gets 30 points to pick their issues that they care about. And, if you don't care about the DApp, don't bother voting. It's not a big deal. But if you do, your voice is welcome. And also, this is an open Lumio, so people that use the DApp, Danny, please promote this Lumio to them, for voting. Okay, I'm sorry that was so long. So the proposal is we use Lumio to prioritize issues every week, and it will probably be something that happens every week at the before Gov meetings, but so that because most of the work will happen on the weekend. Clarifying questions? Nice. Okay, cool. Reaction round. How about Kai?
Yeah, my clarifying question is why are you so awesome, Griff? That's it's pretty cool what you did here. Unfortunately, I just discovered it because Michael said there are some things I really care about, and I was like, maybe I missed something. I missed this, so we'll be checking it out later. I think this is a great way to with the dot vote to prioritize stuff. I'm a bit I hope we can clear up this thing and maybe get the DApp get more people for the DApp and maybe make it in a way that we can handle contributions to the DApp better. Or it's so hard, it's in between the lines. I'm really looking forward to the whole DAI thing, but that will be the next topic. So I will just give it to let's say Michael, because he cares so much.
Yeah, it's all good. I think we have a path forward. I actually think this is a big deal. We've been talking about the DApp for a long time, but I think this decision that, this meeting we had yesterday with Wojtek is significant because we don't know, what's necessarily going to happen to that team. So I really think this is a kind of a critical juncture, and we do need to be looking at getting additional developers, especially because Wojtek is willing to work with that developer for the next 6 weeks or so, and who knows what will happen with Wojtek too. We might be able to convince him to continue to play a role in the medium term as well. But I think that's really critical. So if you know people There will be a job description coming out shortly, and also any contributors. So, for example, we just found somebody today who's willing to help with bug testing. Cryptonaut is going to help us with that and is interested in getting involved with the DApp team. So this is an opportunity as well as a challenge. I'll pass it over to Danny.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see a prioritization process in place for reaction. I mean, my reaction is just that this is really sorely needed. And so I really, really want to encourage people to participate in it, making the issues in GitHub and adding them here and voting on a regular basis. This isn't just a one-time thing. We're going to be doing this every week. So, and then mapping this back to the contributors and identifying people who have, getting these issues up in a way that new contributors can potentially work on them and be trained about how to support Giveth in the future. So it's a great on-ramp for our developers and contributors too. So I'm excited, and it also leads them into our governance process in Loomio a little bit. And participation will get dished points from the DApp team. So yay. Let me pass it to Bowen.
Yay. I'm really excited about this process too. I think it's great. It really, even if you pay attention to GitHub, sometimes you won't notice what is most sorely needed as far as issues go, according to the rest of everybody. So bringing this out into the forefront is an awesome idea. I love it. And I see it as something that will probably eventually lead to being able to funnel some new devs from social coding into doing some issues for bounties or maybe just reward DAO or whatever else. I love it. And I will pass it on to Michael. Have you gone yet? You have gone. Who hasn't gone? Anybody? Raise hands. Yes, Lindsay.
Hi guys, yeah, I think this is a great first step. I'm excited to look into it and vote. I think it's something that was missing. Anytime I would go on GitHub, it'd be very difficult for me to just even read through the issues. So I think this will help the whole team be more interactive with what's going on GitHub, with the DApp, what's needed, accountability and follow through, and that it probably shouldn't just lie on Griff to put together every week. So maybe finding someone else that understands the issues and can get in there and prioritize this like with you for now and hand that off would be a good step forward. But I think this is really great and will really help the community stay together around the DApp and move it forward. So, Chris?
Yeah, I think this is a good step forward. I don't think this is anything negative in the sense that what's happening with Wojtek and Satya, that's like that was what we were expecting to happen. So not surprised about how that is evolving. The prioritization of issues is indeed, it's a good thing. I guess in the future it will indeed be like more Michael taking this over instead of Griff doing it, which is great. And I guess also, well, this is one of it's a very good way to like indeed get the community more involved and not just the DApp team deciding, but actually involving the users of what they need most. And that's one thing. Apart from that, just noting that, of course, that is more of literally an issue-solving approach. And I just hope that next to it, the mission of Michael will stay to build like a longer-term roadmap of where the DApp is going, because otherwise we'll get stuck in the same like, oh, there's issues. We also have to like think forward. But I know Michael is working on this, and I think Josh still has to go.
Thank you kindly. Yes. So it's probably a good thing that the critical juncture, as phrased, has brought about at least some more certainty, which is nice. So blessing and a curse, I guess, but it is there. On the side of devs, one of the friends that's coming with me to Aracon will be a friend that used to work with me at Pillar on Blockchain Explorer. He's now working as a dev somewhere else, but you know, he likes the whole sociocratic kind of thing, which is why we're friends. So I can see this being an interesting place for him. Yeah, I was thinking about the prioritization of issues actually last night and never actually finished sending a message to Chris about it. I didn't really kind of know who to send it to. I had a few people in mind, but anyway, yeah, I was thinking about that because I actually realized that within the wiki, there's not a single mention of issues. And I've never actually looked at the issues list myself because people have always sent me direct issues. So I'm aware of that now, but I only became aware of that because of the question of take a look at the issues list of proposed milestones for the Unicorn DAC, which to me brought about the logic of bounties, intrinsic versus extrinsic motivators, but then realized that actually the issues list is a really good way to start bringing about the milestone, which I believe is more intrinsic rather than extrinsic, which is the bounties that go out off the issues. So really interesting thoughts on that as well. So excited to hear. Sorry for being long. I'll pass it back to whoever's left to go.
I think that's everyone, right?
I think so too.
Cool. So amend and clarify. We have this issue list. Things I forgot to mention. There's going to be a new button on the DApp at the very top and center. This makes it really easy to submit an issue. It says, hey, submit an issue right here, right at the top. And there's also the ability to add issues. I didn't put every issue on the DApp in there. So like if you want to add an issue to be prioritized, you can click the little button that says add an issue. I actually didn't have that switched, and there was one that Lorelei wanted to add. So I just added it at the bottom. So if you already voted, you might check that out and consider adding issues. So yeah, proposal had no things, so I'm just going to push forward. Proposal passed. And next one is switch regular rewards to DAI. So I'm just going to preface this. Kai, I'm going to let you kind of take it over, but I'm going to preface this with there isn't actually a vote on this yet. It's more of just, hey guys, check this out. We are not quite ready to have DAI live. I would say next week we should still use Ether if you make any milestones, but we have the first DAI milestone coming through right now, and it's very exciting. So there's a thread where we are discussing the move to regular rewards and the move to DAI in general. I think it makes a lot of sense to move all of our funding and make DAI the base currency for the DApp. And in this thing, I would also propose that we move regular rewards up to 700 DAI instead of 600 euros. But anyway, I am reacting to Kai's proposal, so I should just let Kai go for it.
But you did a perfect introduction, man. It's a very short proposal, and it's really calling for let's calculate everything in DAI, and you actually did the work and calculated it in DAI. So I hand it to you, the proposal. In that way, there's nothing to add from my side. We could talk at one point about from when is it active, or is there retroactive DAI milestones? But this is a totally different thing. So I think everybody here wants DAI. I don't know if there's so much to discuss about it. I would actually go into if you really want to say something, say it. And if you're heavily opposed this move, also do so. But I mean, there's nobody here except maybe Michael can say something, or Dani, to this, but I would rather know about the things holding us back, or when DAI. But Griff also mentioned this, so that was actually my reaction as well. So I give it to Chris.
Yeah, first I wanted to ask, can you maybe then phrase it in one sentence? What is the tension and what is the proposal? That we stick a little bit to our structure.
Okay, you're muted.
Thanks. This mouse double clicks fast. So the proposal is to switch the regular rewards and expenses that come up. That's usually conference tickets or meetup, free meetup flights and stuff like that. To switch them to DAI when we put them into the DApp for everything. I don't think it excludes anybody. Like if you really want to do your stuff still in Ether, might do it still in Ether. It's just like that it's from our side that it's switched in DAI, so we have like consistency in payouts. That was also long, right? Yeah.
No, that's great. Clarifying questions?
Yeah, I have one. Is this then, I think I know the answer, but just to make it clear, is it only that it shows, because Bowen had this question earlier, that it shows when you are paid instead of euro or dollar, it says DAI, or do you actually only get DAI and no longer ETH on your wallet?
I can answer. So basically, it's that we stop using volatile currencies and we focus on being rewarded in DAI. And obviously, if your expense is in euros or your expense is in Ether or your expense is in whatever, that we'd actually use DAI. And there's going to be some like interesting questions that I hope we can bring up in this thread, because right now it's a thread, it's not a vote. And I really hope that we can look at some interesting questions like, well, what happens if you send Ether somewhere? Should that be rewarded in Ether or should that be rewarded in DAI? What do we do if, there isn't enough DAI? Do we convert Ether? Do we make money? There's going to be some questions. So especially kickstarting the change. Yeah, just let's talk in the thread. I don't even know if we need a specific proposal, because I think we should all respond to Kai's proposal. Yeah, that's generally it. Any other clarifying questions? Okay, reaction round. I'll react really quickly. Love it. Let's move to DAI. And it prefaces the move to XDAI, which will be a lot more exciting and challenging from the technical side. I think it's important that we start with the cultural revolution here and move to DAI as the standard, but not the only. And eventually we'll add other tokens too. I want to add ANT as soon as possible, and CAN and other tokens that we have in our multi-sig that were donated to us with a lot of money. We should move those also to our DApp so we can reward people in them if we want. How about pass it to Bowen?
I don't know that I really have anything constructive to add to this, because I think that moving to DAI is a good idea. I think that it will be interesting when we have the ability to use more than just one or two methods of paying out. So I'm 100% for. I don't have much else. Has anybody not gone yet?
Everyone.
Everyone.
I didn't go.
Okay.
I'll go.
Yeah, go right ahead.
So, principle and in all things that are important to me, I am 100% for this change. And learning curve and my technical capacity for all of these different tools, I have mild apprehension. That's my reaction. Thank you. I'll pass it to Josh.
Thank you. Yeah, I like DAI. I like stability. I think that's good. I would say it's interesting to diversify across stablecoins. There's a Cement DAO, which is for that, which might be interesting just because counterparty risk and stuff. But otherwise, yeah, in general, good move.
Oh, you got to call on someone. How about Michael?
I think it's a great idea. Love it. And as a stable coin, it's one of my personal favorites. So great team as well. They have an amazing team behind it, and some of the best. Yeah, they have an amazing legal team too. So I totally support it. And I'll pass it over to who's left. Lindsay.
Great. I think we're all in agreement. This is a good move considering where Ether is right now, and who knows where it'll take us in the future. And I wish I had personally made this move quite a while ago. So it is what it is. And maybe we need a channel for people that need help with ideas of how to really manage this. But great. I think it's a good move, and it'll evolve as other options become available. So I think I wrap that up.
Chris hasn't gone yet, right?
Oh, really? Oh, Chris.
Yeah.
I thought you went first.
Yeah, it was a clarifying question. Yeah, so I think it's a great move. I don't know. I think new questions will pop up, but we'll see when that happens. One I have is like when we are paid in DAI, how I see it right now. If I need fiat money, I probably need to exchange it back into ETH and then via Coinbase or others change it to fiat, because they haven't added DAI, which I don't know why they don't just do that, but maybe I don't get something in that logic. Yeah, I have the same question as Kai, if we're gonna make it retroactive or as of when we're gonna do this, but I guess that future will tell that. And that's everyone, I guess.
Kai, do you want to amend and clarify?
Yeah, so to amend and clarify, I'll let it stand like this. So we make it optional to use DAI or ETH, but you should be able to, in general, have a regular reward and an expense in DAI. And this is really like the full extent of this as it stands here. Anything else has not been discussed. And I would actually extend like Griff's invitation to discuss here about all these things, like where are DAI coming from, how many do we have, how many do we need, and yeah, when can we use them? But that's a discussion that should follow out of this and be maybe more active. And yeah, the last thing I say comes after that. If anybody wants to say anything against it, now is the time. Okay.
Proposal passed.
Thank you, Griff. I think you're the only one that can do that. That's like, you do the whole thing with your hands. And there's this one thing that I wanted to add, which is I tried to convince Mr. Peanut Butter to be like our Minister of Finance, like back last time. You might, like, maybe you can ask him again for me. We really need a guy. The what?
Who's Mr. Peanut Butter?
The peanut butter. No?
Anybody?
Huh? Courage?
No.
What?
Oh, peanut butter. Oh,
yeah, Jello and peanut butter. I got it now.
Yeah, exactly. Good old PV. Yeah, he's not here anymore.
Yeah.
But he's been flying Murray around. Anyway, back to the meeting. So next we have an actual debate. We still only have 13 minutes, so we should kick it through quickly. And Lorelai's not here, who actually was the person who disagreed with this change, although she wasn't blocking it, she said explicitly. But this is Chris's proposal.
Yeah. So the tension is that while I was reworking the wiki and trying to organize it a little bit with Josh, I see that many of the topics that we have, like in documentation, fall under pure governance when it comes to modeling a DAC. And then there is content that is really about the given DAC, like who we are, what we do, our finances, stuff like that. And there is, in content, you can make this clear distinction between this is governance, what this governance circle does so well, and is linked to both our internal goals of experimenting, as externalizing it and doing external experiments with like, okay, we have to scale, so we do scaling now, cool. or internal. We have a reward DAO. We're gonna like just find some rules, and we're gonna set this up and do this. So that is like the pure governance. And then you have this meeting, which is actually about governing the Giveth DAC. And entirely in the beginning, when we started this process, or not entirely beginning, but when we started the process of really having the circle meetings, we decided to not have a governance circle meeting, because the governance circle meeting would actually be about the processes and the strategy and all these things, how we set this up, how will we model a DAC. What we did is set up this meeting, which is having a DAC in practicality. And so the little proposal I have is just, it seems innocent, but it can have bigger repercussions, which you can read in the Lumio, and that is also my thought behind it. And I'm happy that people saw this, is to rebrand this meeting from the governance meeting, which it is not, to the Giveth DAC meeting, or possibly the Giveth community meeting. And in this way, we open a space to maybe in the future for someone start up a real governance circle meeting where we talk strategy and modeling DACs in general. So in short, attention is Giveth DAC meeting. Attention is that the governance meeting is actually not the correct naming and can be confusing for external as well, in people as well as newcomers. Proposal is to rebrand the governance circle meeting to the Giveth DAC meeting or Giveth community meeting. Any clarifying questions?
What do you mean by the governance meeting? Because you're defining the Giveth DAC meeting, but the governance meeting, they both seem like similar things as just internal and external. You're talking scaling now, blockchain explorers now as governance, and then this stuff is more internal.
The thing is, if you look at the goals of the governance circle, it is the first one is, if I remember correctly, it's modeling the DAC for us, for Giveth. The second goal is to bring this to the outward world. But the modeling and the documentation of this modeling is what the governance circle does. So that is setting up initiatives like Reward DAO, like the Unicorn DAC experiment, and so on. That is the strategy. That's like the writing out of the strategy, and then like discussing this. Yeah. But that is not what we do in this meeting. This meeting is the practical execution of it and the management of one DAC, which happens to be us, the Giveth DAC, the primordial DAC meeting. But in the future, we want to model it so that other people who are onboarded to the DApp can also have their own governance systems. And that's why we wanted to document it. And that is the role of the governance circle, both for Giveth, inward, and outward in the future for others and so on, if that makes more sense.
Somewhat. I think I'm good though.
Clarifying question. Do you prefer one or the other, Giveth community or Giveth DAC?
Personally, I prefer definitely the Giveth DAC meeting because we are the Giveth DAC and we've been pushing that name quite a bit. It's also up on our website, in all our documents, in our Medium posts. We often put next to it the Giveth community or decentralized altruistic community. I'm only mentioning this because Michael made the comment to maybe call it Giveth community meeting. That's the only reason I put it out there. Anything else? Anyone else? Clarifying questions? Reactions?
I can clarify what I mentioned community just in case people didn't read it, which is just simply that I prefer real names than acronyms, and I think when you have new people entering the Giveth system, even though it's you can read it and you can understand it, sometimes it's just like I just like simplicity, and you just say the Giveth community meeting just sounds simple. It's sort of understandable. And if you don't understand,
I don't know if that's me or if that's you guys, but just for Gypsy, but just went digital and gone.
Sorry, Danny?
Danny. She said she's just letting us know that she's not sure if it's her or Jitsi, but to let us know that she's gone.
Ah, okay. Hey,
that's all my that's the only reason why I mentioned it.
Why don't you continue with the reaction too?
mhm. Any reaction to the proposal, Michael?
To what do you mean, like the renaming it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I sort of think in general, I think that's correct. I think the general idea, whether it's DAC or community, is I also just think, like, really simply, like, we should have one space where everybody kind of gets together that's not super narrowly focused on communications or governance or the DAP or something like that. That there is this sort of one place. So if there's one meeting you go to every week, it's like this meeting, and it sort of covers all that stuff. So I tend to agree with you about governance is maybe potentially more focused and narrow in scope, and then this, what this meeting is sort of turning into. And I would add that, like, I actually, and I said it in my comment, but I do think, like, I feel like there's a little bit of overlap with the comms too. Like, I feel like we go around and we update what's going on in all the different circles in the comms meeting too, which I still hear in this meeting. So I feel like there could be some additional streamlining.
And then pass it to someone.
And I'll pass it to Lindsay.
All right, I've kind of gone back and forth on this a bit because I think more meetings aren't maybe necessary now, but I've never really been. I know some people love more meetings, some people are not the biggest fan, but I can see where kind of doing the check-in only here would make sense and save the other meetings a lot of time. And to have a space, it is really great to meet people who want to be involved and be able to send them to the meeting so they can see the process, and this would be the meeting. So I can see the logic. I like community over DAC because it's more opening to people and not as intimidating. So obviously support either way. So I'd say safe enough to try, and just be cautious of adding too many meetings and just like keeping people accountable. But I would say, like, adding that this would be the only meeting to really check in and do that stuff. So I'll pass it to Griff.
Yeah, actually, you just convinced me, Lanes. I was like firmly gonna say Give It DAC meeting, but nah, I think calling it the Give It community meeting makes a lot of sense because it's way more like opening and less scary. Whereas DAC is like, oh, I don't even know what that is. I'm clearly not able to go to that meeting.
It's jargon.
Yeah, I think, like, and jargon. So then that actually gets us more towards the goal that I want. And then, I think it's good to rebrand it. In the end, I don't think there'll ever be a governance circle meeting. There'll be lots of governance meetings. Like there's already weekly meetings on token bonding curves, on curation markets, on different topics. Right now, they're not so open, but I want them to be open one day. And there's going to be, we have lots of, I think the roles meeting is a governance-y meeting that happens twice a month now. We're going to have unicorn DAC meetings, which is a governance-y meeting. And while I agree that meetings are silly, I think that in this situation where we have teams that are like never get to see each other, this is the time where we get to hang out and talk and bullshit, and especially with this reaction round where everyone kind of has this space to speak, is really important, I think, for the connection and cohesiveness of the team. But but yeah, less. But the nice thing is meetings are always optional, and at least I really hope that they are, and everyone is down with that. So I'll pass it to Danny.
I'm liking the approach of using the community name. I'd also think give it sort of that first model of a community and how a community communicates and shares with one another, and seeing the unicorn DAC come up as a DAC. I just think about, I think Chris is very right that we want to use this opportunity to think about how we're naming things, to identify the intention and purpose of coming together on that regular basis and modeling that, so that when we bring on another DAC, it knows how to do that and what kind of things we cover, and we're giving them a model for how to do it. I think a lot of governance is often best to be written anyway, so having our other asynchronous conversations and the